This is your first, is that anybody's first time here, by the way, at the CIBPA International Women's Night? A few, nice. Everybody else returning customers? That's great. So one of the things that the CIBPA has liked to do has had invited some ladies on our stage for a panel discussion, just to talk about some of their experiences, some of the wisdom they have, some thoughts and some ideas that they may have to push the agenda forward. And so we're going to do that tonight. So even in the back, if I can ask you just a little bit more of your attention, I promise. Then we'll take a break for some dessert. So our panel tonight is made up of 3 women that the CIBPA would like to introduce to our community, shining a light on their accomplishments, their thoughts on the importance of recognizing International Women's Day, and of course, some of the issues women face within the health sector. So please help me in welcoming Sienna DiCaro, orthopedic physiotherapist, to the stage. Joining her will be Dr. Melinda Magisano, minimally invasive general surgeon, joining us. And lastly, Romina Monastoro, who is a registered psychotherapist. Please welcome our 3 ladies on our panel. And now we sit. How are you 3 ladies? Good? Well, thanks so much for joining us. I think there's a microphone there. I know that all of you are quite busy, and we do appreciate your time. And it's a wonderful way as an introduction to this community and the CIBPA. So I'm going to kind of just ask you first, I'll put it out there just to hear, we want to know a little bit about you. So we'll start from yourself. What drew you to your field of study and profession?
So I'm a physiotherapist, so I do orthopedic physiotherapy, and then I specialize in women's health doing pelvic floor. I kind of got into that route when I was a student. I was working at a few clinics getting my hours, and there was a lot of women coming in for pelvic floor, and I had no idea what that was. And then I saw a lot of women coming in really frustrated and emotional with what they were dealing with and not knowing what their diagnosis meant. And that just caused a lot of fear that didn't need to be there. And I saw the way the physiotherapists work with them and how they were to reassure them and just give them that support, and that's how I knew this is what I wanted to do.
What you wanted to do, that's great. Because there's a lot of education in your studies and in your profession. I hear more about it now, so it's great that you're doing that. It's really important work. Dr. Magisano, for yourself.
Yes, so I am a general surgeon. I work at Humber. And my father was also a surgeon, and he was a Italian who came over. I've heard multiple times about his travels overseas, and he didn't have a choice. His dad told him he was going to be a physician and a surgeon, but I had a choice, and I chose it, I think, because I saw him, and he was just so happy and fulfilled, and I wanted a little bit of that happiness, and so that's why I went into surgery.
I love that. That's great. And yourself, Romina?
So I'm a registered psychotherapist, and I feel like I've always known I've wanted to get into a helping profession from a very, very young age. And first I thought teacher, maybe lawyer, and then I led to where I am today. I've always loved to help people and support people, and I feel like it's just something that's been always very natural for me. And so during my undergrad, I learned a little bit more about psychology through my criminology program. Then I looked into some master's program, and that led me to where I am today.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yes. I mean, always, it's a road to get there, right? It's quite the road. And one of the things that we've talked in the past with some of the other wonderful ladies we had on this panel is we talked about mentorship, right? So I'm curious, with the ladies out here, or even the men, raise your hand if you've ever had a mentor who's helped you in your life, in your career. Anybody had a mentor that kind of helped them and guide them? And with that, have any of you been mentors? Anybody in this room been a mentor to someone else? That's fantastic, because I keep hearing how important that is, especially for women to kind of really get that foot in the door and release some of the things that they might be afraid of. So have you had a mentor? And I'll go down the line. Have you had one, and who was it, and how did it help you?
I've had a lot of mentors all throughout school, but one particular, like in my current work now, she took me in right away, and she was so supportive. She let me watch a bunch of her appointments with people and how she explained. She gave me all of her information on like research she has, methods she uses, and she was always available for me to contact. And it was just really nice to have that to fall back on.
That's incredible. And yourself, doctor?
I've had a lot of great mentors, and as I was going through my training, I looked for a female mentor that I could, emulate, someone that had a family, but also success in career. And I found it difficult to find a female one, but I did find a lot of my male colleagues were really, really supportive and helpful. And they're actually the ones that kind of got me to where I am and gave me the job that I have today. So in keeping of Women's Day and all the men that are here and men supporting women, I've had very good fortune along my way and feel very lucky to have had those mentors to look up to and have really given me all the opportunities I have.
Yourself?
So I currently have 2 mentors, or we call them supervisors in my profession, and both really, really great with years of experience in the field, and both have been so instrumental in my journey through their own work and through their own interventions and styles of doing therapy, and they've been helping me along the way, and I'm planning on doing a lot more work with them, so looking forward to that.
That's great. I know they're giving out ice cream back there. It looks really good, but it sounds, can they just, just thank you so much. Thank you. So, you brought up a good point, Doctor, about, trying to find and navigate a mentor. And a lot of, myself thinking of, through my career and others talking about, and thinking about my girls too, like how are they going to navigate that? How do we navigate finding a mentor? How do we do that? Or if you, what tips do you have to try to find someone who can help you and guide you authentically?
I can speak to this. So in surgery, we often talk about mentorship because it's a very important part of your training. It takes a lot of time to get to where you are, and you're taught through your peers and through your superiors. But you can't make that relationship happen. You can't force it to happen. And we've tried different ways, putting people together, and I think it has to be an organic thing because everybody's different. Everyone has different priorities, and you need to find that mentor who shares those priorities with you. So that's a good question, and I think you just need to get out there, ask questions, meet people, events like this, network, and then you're going to find your person and somebody who has the similar, passions or thoughts on life, and you just try and emulate them and ask them for help and just have conversations, and eventually you'll find that mentor.
Do you guys agree with that as well? Trying to navigate finding a mentor?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's just in terms of my field, it's all about finding a good fit. Just like clients want to find a good fit with their therapists, us as professionals, we want to find a good fit with our mentors and our supervisors.
So, I brought up my daughter earlier, and by the way, the vegetables are doing just fine, just to say, an update. No, but one of the things she would always remind me, and whenever we talk, is you don't know what you're talking about. You're not with it. You don't know what I'm going through. You don't get it. And I would say that you two ladies are probably closer to her and her generation. I'm way too old as far as she tells me. But to understand, so give us a sense, because I know there's a lot of young ladies in here, of some of the things that you've experienced, some of the struggles, or as a young woman, that you have experienced, and perhaps how did you overcome that?
I can start with that one. So one of the main challenges I face is just knowledge of what I do. Not a lot of people know what pelvic floor is. I didn't either. But it's a big challenge to get that word out and then not be so afraid to go to one, because it is a touchy subject, and I don't know why, but there's a stigma around it. So that's one of the main challenges I face, is trying to break that down and get more people to come and be vulnerable about it.
Absolutely, and something that I think a lot of people can relate to. Something that I know a lot of my clients have bringing forward, especially in that population, is just the impact of social media right now, and just the age we're at, and how much of an impact that's having on our mental health. And so that's something I always remind my younger clients: be mindful of how much we're absorbing and what we're absorbing and what we're taking in, because we really are taking in so much on a subconscious level that we don't even recognize.
And for yourself, doctor, you are in a different stage of your life. And what are some of, because we have, a lot of our members here experience the same thing, right? So what are some of the struggles at your age, at your stage in your life, are you experiencing as a woman in your field? And how do you overcome some of those in your maturity?
Yeah, so I'm a surgeon by day and an Uber driver by night for my children. So I have two jobs.
I'm sure there's more than two, by the way.
Yes, and that's exactly it. It's working and then coming home and taking care of the house and everything at home, which every working person does. So it's not just unique to medicine. But there are good days and there are bad days, and I try and just put one step in front of the other and don't think about the end goal, because that's overwhelming. But do one step at a time, and then you get the job done. And then be a little bit more kind to yourself. You may, forget to pack your kids' lunch. That's okay. They're going to survive. And just try and have a good attitude towards things. I think you just have to be positive and keep going.
I forgot to leave $1 when my daughter lost her tooth, and I've never let that. Yes. I still have the guilt right here.
Yes.
It's not good. I'll have to come see you, know how to release that. So listen, we're going to talk a little bit about health and women's health. And this is interesting because through our conversation, it's very varied in terms of our thoughts on it, right? But I'm going to give a couple of facts. Facts are important. So I'm going to give a couple of facts. Okay, so now I'm not trying to make anybody depressed when I say this, by the way, all the women in the room. Women live longer than men, which is wonderful, right? But we spend 25% or more in a debilitating health. These are some of the numbers, okay? Because study is showing that research on drugs and medicines happens more, with men's biology as opposed to women. So some of the treatments that we may need, it's not necessarily based on for a woman's health, right? So that's some of the things that we've heard about that. But also in a Toronto Star piece, they talked about women's health research makes up only 5% of the Canadian funding over the last 12 years. And the federal government National Women's Institute of Research represents only 0.5% of a $1 billion budget. So I guess my question to you is, what are your thoughts on women's health in this regard? And do you think or feel that there is a women's health gap within this sector?
So I see a gap in my profession. I see a lot of women come in who've gotten a diagnosis, and then that's it. They don't know what it means. They don't know what to do about it, who to go to. So a lot of what I do is letting them know, giving them a lot of that education of what it means, who they can be referred to, what are their conservative type of treatments, what is medical options for them. But there's that huge gap, and then that leads to a lot of fear and frustration and just feeling helpless. So that's what I see a lot.
And doctor, yourself?
I don't necessarily see it within the patient population because, for example, if I treat breast cancer, they're mainly women, and we do our very best to treat them. But I do see it a little bit in the referral pattern. As a female general surgeon, I'm more likely to get a consult for something breast-related or hemorrhoid-related, less likely the big hernias or the big colon cancers that I'm more than capable of treating. But I think it's the referral pattern, which is a bit stereotypical. The big cases you're going to send to the male surgeons, and the smaller ones, we'll send to the female surgeon. That's where I notice it.
And lastly, yourself?
So I think what's really great about my fields right now is that men in general, we've found, have been a lot more vulnerable, at least in the recent years, which is really great. So I do see a combination and a variety of different clients, men, women, all different ages. And it's really great to see that the clientele has really shifted, because I know back in the day it was very female-based. But yeah, really great to see that shift happening.
So one last on the health matter. You know, I think you brought it up, Sienna, regarding kind of the fear that women have sometimes and not knowing how to navigate it. So for all of our ladies in this audience, your final thoughts on how to empower us to navigate our health in a stronger way, in a more confident way, and to ask the right questions and not be afraid. What would you say?
Talk about it. Talk about it with your friends, everybody. We're all women, we go through the same things. You have to like make it normal. The more you talk about it, the more people you find out are going through the same thing, and they can tell you who they've seen for it and what they recommend. That's the biggest thing.
Yourself, doctor?
I think that was very, very well put. Yeah, just talk about it. Ask if you're concerned about something, then just make sure that everything's fine. And the screening guidelines for mammograms just changed recently. So now age 40, everyone's eligible to get a screening mammogram at age 40. So get your screening mammograms.
Yeah, I agree with both of them. Absolutely talk about it with not only your friends, family, but also professionals. Like, we've gone through all the education and the training, and we want to help you with so much willingness. So I think just being really open and vulnerable, and knowing that we're all human and we all experience probably the same or similar things, even though things can feel very, very isolating. Just knowing that it's something that we all experience to some degree, right?
And one of the last questions that I ask usually everybody on this panel, and I'll ask the three of you, who's the woman that inspired you the most in your life, and why?
I would have to say my mom. She's super strong. She's very strong, and she's always like pushed me to go for anything I want. She showed me that herself. She never stops climbing. So I would say my mom.
I don't think I have one in particular, but I'd say all the female colleagues that I work with, because everyone's coming to work, doing the best, and going home to their families, and everyone's in the same boat. And so I find each one of their stories inspiring, no matter kind of what capacity they're working in the hospital or what they have at home.
I also can't really narrow it down to one person, but I would say the top female figures that have been so inspirational for me have been my mom, my sister, my grandmothers. I think many people could relate, especially if you have a sister and whatnot, that connection and just how much of an inspiration they can be. Just seeing my sister from a young age being so determined and reaching her goals, and now she's in law and she's doing so great. That's really inspired me to figure out what my passion is and to go after that as well. So she's probably the number one role model for me, for sure.
Fantastic. So that brings us to the conclusion of this wonderful panel. Please, everyone, a nice round of applause for the wonderful stories shared. Thank you, stand up. Thank you so much. Our 2025 panel. Thank you so much, ladies. Oh, a picture, ladies. Come. So as we take this photo, we would like to ask if all the 21 champions can join us on stage. We would like to have a nice group photo with all the ladies. If you can all make your way up to the stage. I think, where's Sabrina? Sabrina, are you coming up? All right, so we'll have all the ladies join us on stage. You can come from that end or over here. Go ahead. You want me in the photo? Sorry? You want me in the photo? All right, so we're gonna squeeze in. We might need some in the. I don't know if they'll all fit. Will they, Sabrina? Got to make sure we see everybody. everybody in there? Are they all here? We're missing. One, two, three, cheese. Once again, congratulations to our 21 champions. Thank you so much, ladies. Congratulations once again.